Hi everyone, and welcome to a 5-minute guide to remote sensing, hosted by Jogger Limited. I'm Alistair Graham, and I'm just going to take you through a few of the things you need to know in order to be able to talk remote sensing. So example applications of remote sensing are pretty wide and varied. It doesn't matter what market or sector you're in, there's likely to be some case where you could use remotely sensed data. Be that for habitat assessment or city planning, water resource mapping, carbon emission mapping, location of shipping, or even flood mapping, remotely sensed data can play a part in all of these different areas. So what is remote sensing? Now, effectively it is just the collection of information about a target using a sensor that has no physical contact with that object or target. In most cases, remotely sensed data or information relates to the use of data capture by satellite and aerial technologies, mainly for monitoring the Earth for environmental or other reasons. Remotely sensed systems can be split into either active or passive systems. Active ones measure the reflected return of a signal emitted from the system, whilst passive ones measure the natural reflection or emission of electromagnetic radiation, for instance, the reflection of sunlight. So I've already mentioned satellites, but there are quite a few different sources of remotely sensed data. You can have orbital satellites that go around the Earth, or geostationary ones that stay effectively above a fixed point on the Earth's surface. And there are different types of sensors that can then be put onto the satellite platform. You can also have aircraft platforms with different sensors ranging from simple cameras right the way through to laser scanners and hyperspectral systems. More commonly now, and certainly creating some controversy, you can get unmanned aerial systems or vehicles, otherwise known as drones. These are comparatively low cost in terms of the type of platform that you have, and they allow rapid data collection as well. There are different types of platform that aren't mentioned here, such as blimps, and also just affixing your sensor to a pole or to a fixed site. So there's lots of different options. One of the things you'll hear about when people are talking about remote sensing is resolution. That might be spatial resolution, the minimum size at which an object can be resolved, quite often just linked to the pixel size, i.e. the individual component of an image that you're looking at. Spectral resolution is another thing that gets talked about quite a lot, and this is to do with the finesse of the bands of electromagnetic radiation wavelengths that are recorded by your sensor. Temporal resolution refers to how often a location is repeatedly captured, and then all of these things are related to each other. There's a couple of links here that you can check out in your own time that helps explain just how temporal, spatial and spectral resolutions link to each other. So in terms of the types of measurement and the types of sensor that you can get, optical measures reflected light, usually in the visible or near infrared wavelengths. Looking at slightly longer wavelengths, thermal sensors they measure emitted radiation and are linked to temperature. Longer again, we can look at microwave emissions, and we can measure those, or we can send out our own microwaves and then measure the backscatter or the return to the sensor from the pulse that was sent out. Another common type of remotely sensed data system that you might hear referred to is LiDAR or laser scanning, and this can be either ground-based or aerial-based, and is similar to radar in that it measures the return from an emitted pulse, only this time it uses lasers rather than radio waves. Well, that's the 5 minutes up. Hopefully this has been a useful introduction for you. If you want to know anything else about remote sensing, or how Jogger Limited can help you source remotely sensed data, process those data, and then analyse them in order to create effective returns on your investment, then get in touch using any of the different links below. Thanks very much for your time.